Hello, everybody, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It's Chris and Nick here, ready to talk to you about some manga. How's it going, man?
It goes, Nick. Just hanging out, doing my thing.
Your thing.
Yeah. Nothing really new.
Nothing's changed in the world at all.
No,
Past 24 hours.
It's been an astonishingly uneventful, day, year, everything. It's very non-eventful.
Just so you guys know, if you're not listening to this live, we're recording this on November the 9th, 2016. It's less than 24 hours after we learned who the next president of the United States is going to be, which I think more than any other emotion, a lot of people just registered with shock. I'm just going to put it that way. It's been kind of weird. I'm going to look at it in the sense of I've never been part of a presidential election in which the side that I support and the side that the people that I associate with support has lost in the Twitter age. Because I've been, my family's been Democrat for as long as I can remember. So obviously, when I was a preteen and a teenager, Bush won those two, but I didn't have Facebook or Twitter back then to hop on and see how everyone I associated with was reacting. And there was quite a bit of doom and gloom, honestly, when I was going on. A lot of really pessimistic thought going on. So I want to say this in the sense that, in general, I feel that whatever you think is going to happen to the country in general, it's not going to be nearly as bad as that. We'll get, even if things start to go bad, we're going to get through this until the next election. Everything will be fine. I know that there are some groups of people who are going to be much more negatively affected by this than I am. And I say that as a straight white guy. I know that we're in this area where there's a lot of tension around certain groups based on gender choice. I say choice, but you know what I mean. People with gender dysphoria, people who do not have traditional heterosexual orientation. Also, people of different racial minorities. They're all going to, in general, just have things worse off than me, and who are going to have their situation become even worse than whatever way my situation changes. So I know that I don't really have the context to really empathize with what people like that are going to go through, but I promise you it's not going to be as bad as you think it is. And however bad it does get, I promise you are strong enough and good enough and smart enough and goddamn it, people like you, that you can get through it and everything's going to be okay. And we're going to try and help you guys out in whatever little way we can. If things do start going bad for you guys, then for the next 218 weeks, we are going to do our best to make things happier and funnier and better for you.
For a moment there where you're talking about how you're loved and strong, they were like, you basically were just like inches away from like pulling out years of my repressed childhood and finally like giving it vindication. Like, you're strong and you're loved, and it's just me like, oh, it's happening.
I'm surprised you didn't call me out and doing a Stuart Smalley quote in my big inspirational speech.
Who?
I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Oh. See, I don't know why, even like, though it doesn't connect to it, I just think of that stupid Cat Grant speech from the start of Supergirl, where she's like, what's wrong with being a girl? I'm a girl, and I'm hot, and I'm smart, and I'm cool, so what's wrong with being a girl? I'm like, what is this? This doesn't make any sense at all. You know what? I don't, we talked at the bit here at the top here about the election. It's not going to be about that. Regardless of how you feel about things, we're a podcast that talks about manga and tries to make people laugh, so we're going to focus on that. I do have one small story to talk about regarding the election, though. So
yeah, I'm sorry I got a little bit heavy at the start. We're gonna be our usual selves from now on. I promise.
Yeah, there'll be tons of fellatio jokes and craziness later, but generally I don't.
Oh my god, my mouth was watering. I can't wait.
Generally, I don't tweet about like heavier topics. I tend to reserve my Twitter for just like stupid observations about comic book movies or TV shows, or like just jokes. So yesterday I just tweeted out what was intended to be a 2-part joke, where I just tweeted out yesterday, I feel like there's something really important I'm supposed to do today, but I can't remember what it is. Oh well, I'm sure I'll remember it tomorrow. With the zinger going to be tomorrow, I would just tweet out, "Oh shit, the election," in all caps, so that when you looked at my timeline from then forward, those tweets would just be right next to each other, just a day apart. And I was like, this is going to be funny. The payoff's going to be great. Then once Donald Trump started to like come ahead in the polls, I was like, maybe people are starting to get really upset. Maybe this won't have the payoff I'm looking for. And then once PA became like the ceiling state, I was like, you know what? I'll just have to let this one go.
And it was and it was really close too.
Yeah,
in Pennsylvania.
So it's like, you know what? Sometimes I bet Mozart threw out brilliant tracks all the time. I'm just gonna let this one. It's just not gonna have the great punchline. You know what? I'll take that hit for America, because I guess I have to on this one. I
will admit that a very small part of me, because early in the night, because how it works, because of time zone differences, poll results come in from the East Coast and then to the West Coast. So, but Florida, the results were coming in really quickly. We were at something like 90%, while places like North Carolina even didn't have that much. And Florida is the 3rd most populous state in the country now. So we were going through those results really quickly. So people were doing this like, oh, for fuck's sake, Florida, again, every time, you motherfuckers. And so a very small part of me, when I saw more and more of the country turning red, I was just kind of like, yes, it's not our fault this time.
No, people are going to
He would have won even without us.
I feel like people are going to be a lot more infuriated with Pennsylvania now, because it's just like, how the fuck? It's like, look, I don't know how to explain this to you. It's 2 very heavily Democratic cities, and in the middle is just like fucking Alabama. I can't explain it to you anymore. It's a weird state. No one likes it.
Yeah. So you guys could stop being upset at Florida and just be angry at white people.
Yeah.
Shit.
I also realized from henceforward, I'm just never going to make predictions. I at this point, I don't feel confident being like assured in anything. Because if you would like taken a tally of every time I said, look, he can't possibly so-and-so when it came to Donald Trump's political career, I'd be down like $10,000, because I'd have been like, he's never going to win the Republican nomination. Look, he may have won the nomination, but he is definitely not going to be a legitimate contender in the actual election itself. Look, he may have some real traction in the election, but he's not going to be a strong opponent. Like, it's not going to be close between them. I'm like, look, it might be close, but Hillary's going to lock it away before like 8 p.m. tomorrow. Look, maybe it's going a little bit longer than I thought, but he is definitely not going to win PA, a notoriously very strong blue state. Ah, fuck it. God damn it.
It's one of those things where, honestly, things like this go in waves of enthusiasm, it turned out. It turned out a lot of us were wrong about the way that they were playing things. They tapped into what they felt was going to be a big surge of enthusiasm among a segment that didn't turn out as much in the last couple of elections. But, these things kind of go back and forth based on the way that people feel about the situation in the country. If they feel like they can evoke real change in a way that supports them, they're going to turn out. And that's why Obama won by as wide a margin that he did both times. And, it just went the other way this time. There's going to be, a different group in the next election, I'm sure, that is going to get this huge well of enthusiasm and is going to win the election in a way that is probably impossible for us to predict right now. That's just the way it goes, because the country changes and the situation changes. But yeah, I mean, like I said this at the top, I know that a lot of people really don't like this guy. I really don't like him. But it's all going to be okay. All right. In 4 years, things are going to be different. Even if he ends up getting reelected, it's going to be different. So, yeah. Anyway, this is the most political I promise that we're ever going to get on this show. Let's.
Wow. I had this entire small thesis I had
Free
written.
Tibet!
I guess I'll just save that for another podcast.
Let's move on to the recap portion of Weekly Manga Recap and just talk about some manga.
Yeah. You know what, Nick? I feel like... Well, let's do something special today.
Okay.
You didn't like me doing puns, but maybe I can
starting with Seraph at the end. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. Why don't we just trying it, do something special today? Let's jump into the fun times. Why don't we do the recap in reverse and just start with World Trigger, kind of work our way backwards? Just something different, you know?
Yeah, I can do that.
Let's do that.
World Trigger, Chapter 164, Tamakoma 2, Part 20.
Good lord.
Last time, Yuma and a bunch of his buddies that he spars with met up at Kageyura's family's okonomiyaki?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Okonomiyaki? Something like that.
Yeah. In order to just hang out, have some meat, and they ended up bringing up, yo, Yuzuru is really hot for Chika, you know? And essentially, everyone eventually convinced Yuzuru that no, he did not need to go lightly on Tamakoma 2 in order to ensure that Chika would get to go on the away mission, or to ensure that Chika's team could go, because, hey, what if he ended up being chosen for the away mission? Then he could go along and protect her. But then, at the end of all that, Yuma had to, of course, talk a little bit of trash in his usual tone, which is, doesn't matter what you decide, we're going to win anyway. So, we pick up where we left off there. Yuzuru leaves some money to help pay for the meal, and leaves the table saying that he is going to go and review Tamakoma's logs and properly prepare for the rank war. Which Kageyura gets upset about because he left money when he said that he would take care of the whole thing. So I like how he holds up the yen bill and it's glowing in his hand in the panel.
It also doesn't look like he's actually able to hold it. It almost looks like it's superimposed, like it's a graphic or something. It wouldn't fit. It doesn't fit naturally into a hand.
It's been copy pasted onto.
Yeah, he's like, I'm holding it perfectly straight from this narrow-edged corner.
It really does look kind of awkward. God, that's gotta be... Ashihara, it couldn't have been too hard to hold a yen bill in your hand and draw that.
I just like to think that it makes Japan's money magical.
Magic yen.
Yeah.
So everyone talks about that a little bit, saying, "Oh, it's good that he's not going to just throw the match." And then Toma brings up to Yuma, Yuzuru could get in trouble for not going all out, and that means that Chika would also be punished for not wanting to shoot people. And everyone's talking about that. Well, yeah, she can't shoot people. What's up with that? And it's because some of them in the group have picked it up, and Zoe recaps, oh yeah, she never actually takes a normal shot. There are plenty of times when she could have in fact scored a point if she had just shot someone with a normal bullet, but she can't. And Yuma is trying to kind of play this off a little bit by saying, what if she's just trying to make you think that, and bam, it'll be a trap.
I do it's the only excuse you could have when it's clearly everyone's she can't shoot people, right? We've all noticed it. Maybe that's just
trying
what
to
she
pull
wants
you into a false sense of security.
oh no, it's obviously a trap. that I'm telling you about.
And so it calls him out, and it seems to be like, yeah, I guess that doesn't make sense. So everyone's like, oh, this is that. Yeah, that makes sense. That's why she uses lead bullet and so on and so forth. And Zoe says, I'm glad that she can't shoot people directly, because if she could, she'd be freaking unstoppable with that much Tryon. And someone brings up the point, no, I think she can shoot people. She just doesn't want to.
Bum, bum,
And
bum.
everyone's like, what do you mean? And Toma says, I said she doesn't want to shoot people. I never said that she couldn't. If she wanted to, she could shoot somebody with a lead bullet, and we only need to switch it off mid-path to a regular bullet. That's it. It's that simple. And they're like, wait, isn't that the same thing, though? Like, not wanting to and not being able to? And the way he puts it is, it's the same as how 0 and 1 are completely different numbers. And he launches into this explanation about how if people are unable to, just completely unable to shoot others in border, then they get divided off while they're still C rank. They would never be able to ascend to B rank. They end up instead being designated as operators, being designated as engineers. Chica's not like that. She doesn't want to shoot people, but she does have a strong battle sense. Whenever she is actually in a back position, she is always able to shoot no problem. When she stares down someone else who is going to attack her, she doesn't get scared and freak out. And we get, a flashback to the shootout that he had in their last match where her leg got blown up, but she still landed the shot. So, yeah, the way he puts it is she has a legit battle-oriented mentality. So if she really needed to, then she would be able to shoot someone. I mean, this is all this kind of stuff that we pretty much already knew. Like, for a long time, we've been thinking, okay, yeah, there's going to eventually be a point where Chica shoots somebody for real. It's probably going to be a really big moment, but it's not the fact that it's being talked about that I appreciate. It's the way that Toma talks about it that I like.
It's nice to have it explained, too, because there are some people who might not quite understand it.
Mm-hmm. And I like for some reason I like the 0 and 1 comparison, because I'm a math dork. So yes, 1 is only 1 separate from 0, but it's also infinitely different.
Fucking loser.
Yeah, Toma wraps this all up by saying, yeah, her participation in the away mission is already set, so you are probably going to want to push her to her limit and make her actually be ready to shoot people, because that could potentially save her life. And at that moment, Hikari shows up, and that essentially ends the conversation, and everyone goes their separate ways. Yuma heads back to Tamakoma, and off-panel has a conversation with Osamu about the discussion that they had about everything. And Osamu's like, yeah, I guess that all makes sense. And then Osamu brings up that he's been, going over the rank core battles from before, and he gets the idea of, well, they might have a way to counter the wire strategy now if they've been checking our logs, so maybe I should try using some new triggers. So they go to see Shiori, and she's making cookies.
She makes cookies,
I mean, I said this last time. It's been so oddly, refreshing, but so weird to get these, more slice of life chapters of World Trigger. This is not the strangest, thing that we've had. The strangest and most awkward by far was, will you help me to go to Sama's room ready? Yeah, okay. She's making cookies, but it's okay. It all leads to a metaphor.
Yeah, it's just like she's able to explain a battle technique that way.
Yeah. let's say that this cookie dough is your try-on, and we've got these cookie cutters, and each of them represents a different trigger that you use. See, when you have this, you got, okay, Asteroid and Raygus and Thruster. Each of these use up try-on, and this is the bailout system. All of just having these equipped, it takes up some of your try-on, and if you were to add another one, then it would use up the try-on that you could use for bullets and such.
I want a puzzle piece cookie.
So because of that, because you've got limited try-on, it might not be such a good idea to just throw in a new trigger at this point. And Yuma very helpfully chimes in, I don't really want any new triggers either.
Well, she says specifically that he could also alleviate it if Yuma took on the trigger, and that way he'd be able to do it, and that's why he was like, I don't want... Which seemed a little bit odd, because I guess the implication would still be that I guess Yuma would then have the trigger, and like he'd help Osamu use it, or that Osamu would literally have the trigger, but Yuma would be the one powering it.
I'm not really sure exactly how that would work.
I could understand the former. The latter is where I'm confused, because that seems odd if that's like a possibility. Like you could just have other members of your team power them, but who knows?
What if, Panda people in the chat, what if they put gravy on the cookies? More try on. So, yeah, they're bringing up the idea of changing around trigger sets. Yuma expresses that he's hesitant to add more triggers at this point. I think that it would just be to change the armory that they've got at their disposal. But Yuma says he doesn't really want to because he's used to what he is using now, and he's got it well practiced at this point, basically, and he thinks that it would screw him up if he had more to deal with. And also, they've got Hughes on their side this time, so Osamu shouldn't worry about overburdening himself at this point. But he is left deep in thoughts afterwards, pondering the situation. He's like, yeah, I know that we're not the same team as before, but he also remembers Hughes and Yuma's words. Hughes saying you'll be more than a match for just about anyone you go up against, and Yuma's looks like Chica can shoot people, and so someone was like, okay, we're getting better. We have a good chance of winning the next match. So why do I feel so uneasy? And the chapter ends with a montage of the teams continuing to prepare, leading up to the next match in the rank wars.
This was an interesting thing. It's foreboding, obviously, Osamu's message, and I think there's good reason for it. Things do seem to be going well for them right now. Everyone's been making improvements slowly. Husei's joined the team, so it feels like, yeah, they should win, but you have to also look at things narratively. There's still another match after this. Yeah. Obviously, if the next match, if they've already secured all the points they need, then the next match would be kind of pointless, or there's not much tension if it's like, we just need to get 1 point or something like that. Whereas with this, I think there's the potential for, not for them to get completely screwed or anything like that. I don't think they're going to get it's not going to be like the first match with the Ninomiya squad or anything like that. But I do think they're going to get surprised, particularly because all their opponents are absurdly good. Like, Kaira's squad's already kind of the second best squad in this bracket. Ko is somebody who gets better as he fights people, and Azuma has been kind of properly hyped up since the beginning. Like, he's just a veteran guy who's really good. He's expert at kind of taking people out too. Like Yuma, he just doesn't have that killing intent. So, yeah, they've kind of established that all these guys are smart and they're all working and figuring out strategies. So I think there's the potential that they're going to be kind of almost like Hayama. Like, they're maybe not prepared as much as they should, or maybe not coasting, but just they're going to get surprised, I think. And
I think that a big part of that is the fact that Hughes has never fought with the team before. And he specifically noted to Osamu that he would only pay attention to his instructions if he felt that they were the right ones. So I think that there might be a lack of coordination in this match, and that might be one of the things that does them in, along with just the fact that they've used the spider strategy now for 2 matches, and so their opponents are going to be able to study about more on them. And as we've moved through this, in the last match, they had a harder time winning than they did the one before. People are being able to poke more holes into things. So I think that all those things are going to be working against them, and I think that they're not going to do as well as they should, basically.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Toriko. Gourmet 394, Toriko's full course meal. Last time, Acacia had
good luck recapping that.
Last time, Acacia had some last-minute character development. I was really the whole time barfed up all the ingredients that Neo had eaten over the course of its life. And Toriko notices, I found it! The meat that was inside of Neo that would be part of my full course meal. It's a weird elephant!
It's an elephant we just met.
An elephant with literally no buildup. An end mammoth. Which Perry says, yes, the mammoth that ancient gourmet hunters ate and thought was so delicious that it would put an end to professional gourmet hunting. A famous extinct creature, also known as the perfect elephant. The flavors of the ingredients continue to grow inside of Neo. But the blue demon inside of Toriko is like, not too crazy about that. What the fuck ever. And his appetite demon says this mammoth won't be putting an end to Toriko's journey, even though it's the last ingredient on his full course meal.
That actually is a really curious statement because, words come out that Toriko's ending. But
sequel series.
That's a sentiment, baby.
Sequel series.
That's that's an ominous sentiment right there.
I don't know. I get the feeling that it's like, we're going to have like a monthly chapter of Toriko or something now.
Possibly.
Or maybe it's just hinting that, and Toriko had many more journeys.
Yeah, but you could do that afterwards. Like, you could do that at the end of, in the last chapter,
Yeah. A weird blob comes up from the ground as the planet erupts, but not, in a bad way. It was going to be in a bad way. Anyway, Aimaru and Teppei emerge from this geyser, which Aimaru says is the undiluted solution of center. We've stopped the earth from exploding, but part of center is still swelling up from inside of the earth. And energy is welling up with it as well. Toriko feels... He feels as if he's grown multiple hearts. Midora's body returns to normal, even restoring the hand that was eaten by Acacia. Even those on the brink of losing their lives are healing and being resuscitated. Kamatsu's body grows back, as do all the other as do the other gourmet hunters, as do the 8 kings that were seemingly killed. As if the earth stained with blood from the final battle, as well as those who were wounded were being taken up in its arms. With great power and gentleness, center satisfied the earth. So everything's fine now.
Yes.
And
but
Midora...
Nick, how did this miracle happen?
This is great. Midora says, it's food luck. All the miracles in this world are the work of food luck. But Toriko goes... But all of our food luck was swallowed up by Neo. How did... And Midori goes, God, is this your doing? Everyone looks over and the weird frog thing is kind of just sitting there. And Paris says, God's been prepared, toasted to a nice brown. He no longer harbors any food luck. Then who? Everyone looks over on the Emperor Crow's back, where Zunga and Guppy are sitting.
Zange had food luck, apparently.
Massive food luck.
Yeah,
enough food luck to save the world. Guys, Zonge saved the world, and he doesn't even realize it because he's a stupid lucky idiot.
He's so dumb. Here's the thing. This is actually kind of genius when you think about it. Because how has Zonke survived in the gourmet world and everything like that when the dude's like full course menu's toughest item was like a capture level 3? Like he was always...
The very first enemy that was encountered was his prize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's always been kind of a goober, so it actually kind of makes sense that he's blessed by food luck, and that's kind of what's kept him alive. It always kept him alive, like able to...
Considering that he went on the Century Suit mission... He showed up at all these different points where the world was being torn asunder, and he just kind of stood in the middle of it being like, what's going on? This is crazy.
Yeah, it's like an amusing way to kind of... I mean, it was always like a joke, but it's like almost like a small rationalization in story has been given for why Zonge's just like always been showing up despite the fact he sucks.
Yeah, people are to make a comparison to like, Mr. Satan. Yeah, kind of. I mean, he didn't go through, an arc where he stopped being selfish and became a good person, but...
Yeah, I mean, Zonge just always kind of showed up places, and that was like, it was just a joke that he was there, or maybe he'd get like Team Rocket blasted off again, sort of.
Mm-hmm. Midora recaps this all by just saying, I see. There's no telling who can have food luck. Pretty much.
I also do like it that Zonge isn't told this, so he's just left in the dark. He's just like, what happened? Why are they all looking
What's going on, guys?
I farted. Did they all hear it?
Midora copies Zonge's food luck, and he says to the food luck, as your final act, let a criminal like me do what little I can to atone for my sins. I have to sacrifice myself now because Acacia did, so I'm also going to do a heroic last-ditch redeeming sacrifice. Toriko, this is the end of the line for me, but both of you should get along like brothers and share a meal at the same table. And Toriko asks, why do you sound so happy? Midora says, I don't know. And with his last act, he turns all his energy into flavor so that it may reach this battered earth and unleashes gourmet spice. Like the meteor spice that he used before, only this time it is to help the earth, to populate it with great flavors instead of, death and destruction.
It's one of those helpful meteor storms you always hear about.
So, that's it. That's the end of the final battle. And we get a little montage of people reacting to this act. We see Setsuno, who's exhausted, reacting to it along with Rin and Mansum. And Neo's still throwing up ingredients. He ate a lot of them.
He's been treating himself pretty good.
The unfathomable flow of ingredients was enough to create an infinite number of galaxies. Nobody knows how many days the eruption lasted, but Neo's vomiting finally settled down. And so creepy, scrawny-ass Neo is left plopped on the ground, completely spent. And suddenly Toriko approaches him and offers him a big chunk of meat. Says, you must be hungry. Let's eat together. And after all those hundreds of millions of years of all things taken from him, this was the first time anyone had ever shared food. And so Neo eats some of the meat and makes a sound of satisfaction. And Toriko calls over everyone who was gathered there and says, let's eat too. And that's where the chapter ends. It's a sweet chapter, honestly. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't really like everything about the way that we got here, because it's been a really wild last couple of years with this series. Yes. Going some weird places, going on weird tangents and side journeys. Various characters getting more focused than others in a way that didn't really appeal to me. But this chapter itself is a really nice and very true to the series way of wrapping things up and bringing them all together. There's, the bit of parody there. the joke with Zange. But there's also, this all goes with Toriko's big thing, which is food is most delicious when it's shared with people. And he even manages to do that with the most horrible eldritch being in the series. He manages to befriend it at the end, even if he does still have a stupid looking nose.
Yeah, I liked it a lot in that way. As you said, it had all the parts of Toriko that you love. It even has like that absurd, ridiculous quality to it when it's like Neo's vomiting up so many ingredients it could create infinite galaxies, and who knows how many days of vomiting up pure ingredients it took before he finally stopped. Like, just that ridiculous, like, over exaggeration of Toriko that's on. But yeah, it's all kind of, when it comes down to Toriko actually shares a meal with Neo, it is very true to the series. It's nice because this was something that was established to us early on. Neo became what he was because everyone kept taking food from him. And for the first time, food was being shared with him. And that's managed to kind of change him from an eldritch beast of pure destruction into something, I guess, friendly. I don't know. He's like the Majin Buu for the series going forward. But yeah, no, it Neo want cookies. It works in a lot of ways. There's still some issues with it, but particularly I think the weirdest part is just Medora's like spontaneous sacrifice.
I'm going to sacrifice myself now.
Well, I'm just like, did this have to kill you? I'm still not even really I'm not even sure.
I have to bring flavor to the world.
But like, it still in many ways really kind of does everything it needs to and hits the right point. So to that, I really enjoyed the chapter.
Yeah.
Alright, so
it's Red Sprite, right?
Well, actually,
you were gonna do RWBY, right?
Yeah, I'll jump on RWBY. So this is RWBY Chapter 2, and I don't think there's a title to this.
Blasphemy!
I don't see one, so I don't think there is. Some people have been trying to explain to me exactly how this works, and it's starting to make sense to me at the end with this chapter. This is a prequel series. It's just the first 2 chapters are set midway through the first season or something like that, and then it's just meant to pull you into the flashback part of it. So it's a little bit strange, but I get it now. So I almost, the big thing for this chapter is honestly just kind of trying to explain the world. There's a lot of characters here that I'm even wondering if there's a point to recapping them, because if everything else is going to take the place of the flashback, like, is it necessary to remember Professor Goodwitch, which is a stupid fucking name, by the way. Professor Goodwitch is so lame.
You thought that Dr. Light and Dr. Wily were on the nose.
Like, Harry Potter had a couple names that you're like, okay, a little bit odd, but those were at least odd in an inventive sense or something like that, like McGonagall or things like that. You're like, it sounds fantasy, like magic-y-ish. Professor Goodwitch is just like, oh, come on.
For fuck's sake.
She had no choice but to become a fucking teacher or something like that. She basically throws RWBY into a match against the student who threw one of her friends aside as a way of basically keeping them from fighting but making it an official fight. I guess the Academy just has sanctioned fights between their students. Like, it's like Shokugeki no Soma, but with swords and shit. I'm still not entirely certain how this universe works. Essentially, there are dark beings out there. Everybody has auras, and that aura allows them to use weapons and other magics that are only good against those monsters. It's very simple in that shonen context to things, like, oh, only certain people have powers, those powers help them fight creatures, but that's been done time and time again. Bleach, D. Gray Man, understandable. This one, it's more of a nebulous thing, because I guess you could essentially do more or less anything. You have weapons, but people make the weapons, it sounds like, and then there's magic. I don't know. It's all, from what I understand of the series, meant to showcase the action, which unfortunately isn't in best display here since it's not actually animated. But they have a bit of a fight, and RWBY's talking to herself while this is going on, and she's like, why did I want to become a huntress? Didn't I want to be a normal girl? No.
I didn't want to be a huntress. I wanted to be a lumberjack.
Rips off her shirt. She just has a plaid shirt underneath. Ha!
I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay.
She's like, what are you going to use your lumberjack axe for? I'm going to chop werewolves' heads off. I'm like, that's not what lumberjacks do. She's like, oh, I guess I did want to be a huntress. Hold on, wait.
I'm a monster huntress and I'm okay.
What do clowns do? Because maybe I have that confused as well. Clowns entertain children. Oh, yeah. Okay. No, I
thought it was terrify the masses by being creepy.
Yeah, see, you're really off on what you think professions are. She says, no, that's why I'm here at Beacon Academy. Swinging you, Crescent Rose. Here with everybody. And she, I guess, defeats him in, like, one of those, like, samurai, like, dash forward kind of moves. It's tough. I mean, she's using the scythe, which I think works when you're able to animate it. But in, like, the drawn format, it's kind of hard to understand what scythes are always doing at times. Like, from that pose, you're like, would you tap him with the blunt end a couple times? But everybody's cheering. And that's when you kind of start up a little bit of the... Well, actually, no, this is more detail. They explain Beacon Academy is one of the 4 huntsman academies in the world. It's where people go for training. The Grimm are out there. Huntsmen and huntresses control power known as aura in a way that ordinary humans cannot. It allows them to develop a variety of techniques as they fight against Grimm, which are resistant to military weapons. So
Okay.
that's essentially how the universe works. The teachers are talking. Ruby's like, I'm great. Let's go show everybody how great we are. And then it cuts away to some guy with a hood and a cigar who's talking about how he is gonna, like, he's like, an absolutely beautiful moonlit night. Synthesis schemes smoothly goes smoothly on nights like this. I think you'll enjoy what I have to store in you this time. I hope you like it, my little red. I guess this isn't necessarily a flashback, but it's at night, so I don't know. I assumed it's, like, because it's all black around there that it is flashback, but I guess I don't actually know. But if he is talking, why does it go from, like, morning to night with this dude? Like, did he wait 12 hours and then he's, like, reacting then to having watched something? Like, Ruby wins the match!
Look.
And he's up there. And it's just like that Skyrim, like, time-passing clock thing, like, 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. I'll see you soon, Ruby Rose. Like, he had to wait until the moon came up behind him.
He's like, look, I've got a really demanding work schedule, so I can't watch this shit live. I had to I had to pull it up on Netflix later.
He's like, you know what? I can respond to things when I get around to it. And just imagine it's awesome. Just imagine I did this right after she won the match and was talking about how, like, comfortable she is with herself and her identity, all right? Then it would have been really scary. Fuck you. I got things to do. I got kids to feed.
You mentioned she uses a scythe as her main weapon. What are some, like, weapons you don't see a lot of in manga that you kind of wish you could see more of?
Axes. I always thought axes were really cool, but you don't, like, main characters never get axes.
Because axes are portrayed as the brute's preferred weapon. And the main character is always kind of an in-the-middle sort of one.
They're also too violent generally. Like, you can generally write a sword in action and cut somebody, and it's not bad. But an axe, you're never going to cut somebody and just, like, a mark across the chest. If you cut somebody with an axe, you're essentially, chopping an arm off or something like that. So it's kind of a very savage weapon you really can't be too delicate around. The only axe I can even think of is in Beat. He had an axe, and that was the one he used the least.
I kind of wish that there would be more, like, spear type weapons.
Spears are cool.
Because, it always seems to be like a supporting character one. That's where you get the Lancer term from.
Yeah. I like archers a lot, too. I know that's generally something that the series is going to focus on, or it's a side character, but I do like archer characters. They're always really cool. That is true. Konami does have an axe in World Trigger, but she's not a major character. So, yeah. It's a fine chapter. I guess we'll just have to see what happens from here.
Let's move on to Red Sprite. Last time we were introduced to Beatrix, the princess of the kingdom that Alfred is part of. And we get a brief character introduction here from, I guess, the general? Yeah, the general. Who explains because, Tatsu had just talked down to her and... He explains, yes, His Majesty King Wilhelm perished 2 years ago, and she was 9 at the time and unable to become a regent. Several ministers and generals govern the nation in the meantime. The ruler of our nation, and the youngest head of state in the world, is Her Majesty Beatrix Artorius Nalbion. To which she responds by going, my cheek hurts. Which I guess is her way of saying, oh, you're embarrassing me.
It's her way of basically just busting his balls.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's referring... Okay, she must be referring to when he grabbed her by the mouth.
Yeah, I assume that's what she was doing.
And Tatsu's like, sorry about that. Please don't have me executed.
I won't do that. Off with his head! Sorry, I lied.
No, I'm way cooler than that. Fuck you! Beatrix says that because of the state of war that they're in, they should leave immediately. She's asking Tatsu and company to leave the very next day. And Tatsu says, well, we could leave right now if Alfred came with us. He's who we're here for. And Beatrix is like, okay, Alfred, make sure to sell things with your old friend because it's got to be really awkward if you two aren't friends anymore while you're living on the same ship. She is quickly becoming my favorite character in this series. Just this complete no nonsense. All right, well, you better be friends again. Get chop chop.
Yeah. Get your shit together.
And she sends them off on their own to talk things over. And so they head into town, and specifically the area where Alfred actually lives. And they head into a pub where a bunch of people are familiar with Alfred. They give him this big friendly welcome. Oh, we haven't seen you too much since you became a soldier. Are you okay? Have you been doing well? Oh, who is this guy? Is he your friend from the military? And Alfred says, he's someone I know from a long time ago.
How could you do that? Ow, you're breaking his heart. He's like, it's just, hold on. DJ, play it. Somebody that I used to know. And everyone's like, oh, he takes any opportunity to do this, by the way. I'll just have you note, he's always looking for opportunities.
Oh, no, he's gotten the pastels out. He's drawing stuff on his face. Oh, my God. His voice
Put your clothes back on.
Oh,
there are children here.
His voice is so terrible for this song. Oh, boy. Alfred talks with Tatsu while they're eating, and he says, you must be really disappointed in me because you guys are all suffering and I've been living this quiet, carefree life here with people who care about me. And Tatsu says, don't worry about it. Magonia doesn't inquire about the history or origin of anyone who wants to... So, don't worry about it. And Alfred is still like, I'm a soldier of Nalbion. I shouldn't be joining you. I swore allegiance to this country, I can't be happy now. I can't go off with you. I swore my life to this country, and it's about to fall. And you should just leave before you get caught up in all of this. So he's kind of sends Tatsu on his way. Tatsu goes to his room where he's lodged up for the night. But before he settles in, the general enters, and they go off to have a conversation together. And first off, he explains, okay, this is the escape route that you guys will take in the morning. And then he brings up, it seems as though Alfred hasn't come around yet. And Tessa says, yeah, he was acting like we were strangers. And so the journal explains that through the conflict that they've had, as well as his not his upbringing, but his interrupted upbringing, Alfred essentially had his childhood taken away from him, and the emotions that he had bottled up have cracked through his coolness, especially since your broadcast hijacking. As a superior, it gives me a headache, but as a father, it makes me very happy. So I want you to promise that you will take Alfred, even if he refuses. But Tatsu says that he will just believe in Alfred and believe in whatever path he chooses. No matter what happens, no matter what he says, we're friends. Then we cut to a meeting room with Beatrix overseeing a meeting of the different military commanders. And they essentially say, we're fucked. We're fucked. Even if we have those guys helping us out, they were at their limits dealing with just 5 of them, and there are 80 Plasmaro soldiers, at least. So the general brings up, Your Majesty, you have the option of going with them, and Beatrix immediately cuts him off. Anything you say beyond that will be considered disrespect toward the Queen. If I go missing, Adinia will search every corner of our country and trample over our people in order to find me. Those who have something to protect are not allowed to run away. And that transitions into the conversation between Alfred and Tatsu, because Alfred still feels that he has something to protect, but Tatsu also feels he has something to protect. See, it all comes together. They all want to protect each other, Chris. So maybe they should just stop fighting and get along again.
Start making out.
Maybe.
Yeah. Red Sprite on ice, Nick.
We're only going to have so many months where we can make that joke and have it be topical.
I had to slide it in now.
Alfred tries to reject Tatsu again, and Tatsu says, pretty badassly, if you refuse to go with me, then I'll break your limbs and take you. The general actually requested that you come along with us, and so I'm going to prioritize that, even if you don't want to go. And Alfred says, look, I deserve this. This is my atonement for abandoning you all. And Tatsu shouts him down, saying, if you're going to throw your life away, then you should do it with a smile and die proudly, knowing that you were able to protect something dear to you. All this about requirements, mission, duty. Have we become so distant and small that you can so easily throw those words around? Whether you abandon us, betray us, whatever you say, we're still friends, and that's the one thing I want to focus on. And Alfred finally breaks and starts to tear up because even though he does want to go along with Tatsu, which he finally admits, he cares about the people that he's spent the recent period of his life with. He loves them, and so he can't leave. He can't abandon them. So Tatsu says, yeah, okay, putting the old men aside, a man isn't a man if he abandons a little girl.
I feel like that's like the number one rule in how to be a dude. It's just like, you can't sacrifice young women, young girls in the you can't. That's really like the one person. Like if I'm on the Titanic and like it's like me next to a little girl and I'm just like, hey, look, a butterfly, and I stick onto the boat.
Bye.
That's like when I get to the water, like that would just give us the van card. You don't get to have that anymore. I'm just like, oh, come on, wasn't that crafty? So ingenious.
So dawn arrives. The Adinian army is approaching, and so Tatsu sets off. He basically gets ready to board his ship and says to Alfred, I'm happy that we could talk like we used to. We're always on your side, never forget that. And they take off and head away while Alfred says, thanks, Tatsu. That's the end of the chapter. So, I'm assuming that something is going to happen to change this, but it did kind of take the weird direction of, Tatsu's just leaving his friend behind. Following his wishes.
Yeah, Tatsu is stated. He's like, I'm gonna do whatever Al wants. I'm gonna trust in his feelings. And he starts off kind of like yelling at him, I'll break your limbs and take you if you're gonna throw your way away. And I feel like he does it just to pull out emotions out of Al. And
he's trying to get Alfred to drop all the bullshit and tell him how he really actually feels about things, so that he can actually understand what he's going through.
And I really like that they have a moment, too. They just sit on the edge of, that building, stare at it. I almost wish there was, like, a panel just of those two kind of, like, sitting out and talking a little bit. Because, these are supposed to be, like, essentially lifelong friends who just have been away from one another for, a period of time. But it's nice seeing them get to reconnect, and it's nice also seeing that, the whole 7-man band or whatever that was kind of petitioned, like, they're not all going to get together. These people, at least Al at least has a life, and he's going to continue it. He's still an ally, but it's just kind of an interesting sentiment.
Well, I doubt that we're done with this setup. I mean, I could buy into then, like, okay, yeah, I guess we'll just see how you guys do. If we hadn't been introduced in great detail to Beatrix, we're, I think, going to get a bit of focus on the conflict, the invasion that happens here.
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
we'll see how that resolves.
It might be what happens is maybe like a couple chapters from now, if the series is still going, they come back to this, and that's when things change, and you always know like maybe his kingdom gets wiped out or something like that, and he goes with it. But just right now, I like that sentiment of Tatsu being like, no, I said I would follow exactly what he did, and he chose to stay with them, and I respect that decision because he's my friend. And I'm like, that's really cool of you. I like Red Sprite. It's something I've been, my interest is weighing on it slightly. A part of that just because I know it's not doing very well in Japan, so it's hard to keep up like a whole lot of interest.
You're trying not to keep your hopes up, yeah.
Well, it's just like if something I know is inevitably going to end, it's harder to keep like a long interest while it's counting down. But I do really appreciate this guy's writing skills. They're some of the better ones I've seen in Jump. Honestly, just in terms of being able to connect a whole story together throughout a chapter, and use transitions really well, and be a little bit subtle with things.
Mm. Well, yeah, I do like Tomohiro's work, and I do hope that Red Sprite continues on. People in the chat are talking a bit about the cancellation stuff that's going on, because we're into the new round of cancellations. Love Rush is ending very shortly. Toriko, of course, is ending very shortly as well, according to the news that we've heard. So, it's possible that we're going to get Red Sprite for more than just like a couple more chapters, but it is going to need to start doing considerably better very quickly if we're going to get beyond like 25 chapters, basically.
Yeah. We'll just see.
I do hope to see more, and I guess we'll see how it goes. Hey, maybe we'll get Amalgam of Distortion back.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be shocked if that happens, especially if Toriko is leaving the magazine. So, I mean, US Jump will have another hole to fill. I'd fill it with Amalgam of Distortion.
Let's see. Do we know what something is going to be? Yeah, we're going to start getting a couple of new mangas soon as well, so we might start getting some more jump starts very shortly as well. Okay, let's move on to the Promised Neverland Chapter 14, Trump Card. Last time, Norman laid out in great detail how he found out that Ray was the traitor, and then tried to get him to become their spy, to become a double agent on their side. But we open this chapter with a question that Norman is asking Ray: why did you decide to become Mom's sheepdog? And we actually open with a brief flashback of the three of them as little kids approaching the gate where, in Chapter 1, Emma and Norman would eventually discover the truth. And essentially what we find out is that Emma and Norman got bored and left, and Ray somehow found out what actually was going on in that time. They don't actually, I don't think, explicitly say exactly how he found out the truth in this chapter, unless I missed the detail.
No, it's just sort of established that he figured it out, and Mom found out about him finding out. So Ray tells Norman that he volunteered himself to Mom. He went to her. He sold himself in order to prepare for escape. Everything was to prepare for this escape we're planning now. Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
What's that from?
It's from Doctor Strange.
Oh, okay.
I
haven't seen it yet.
You'll know why I said it when you see the movie.
Ray decided to make a deal with Mom, and then we get a little title page, which is a really cool visual. God, Promised Neverland's so goddamn good at these. It's Emma slumped against a bookshelf in a kind of a library that's not doing so well, while Ray is walking in the background away from her. Because he's the traitor.
It's very good.
So Ray says that this entire time since he's known the truth, what you find out is since he was almost 6, he's been planning for this. This is, if you knew nothing else about this series, Ray was planning an escape from a facility since he was less than 6 years old. Should give you an idea of how absurdly smart these kids are. So yeah, he became Mom's spy, sold himself to the enemy to try and find a way out. And he made a deal with Mom as soon as she approached him, after laying out what information he knew about their situation. He knew what the truth was. He knew that the order that they were being killed was based on their test scores, and I am a golden egg that the farm has spent time and effort to cultivate. Therefore, you would want to avoid getting rid of me midway. So let's make a deal. And Mom agreed, because she cares more about profit than rules. So he basically asked for 2 conditions. 1, not get shipped out in midway in exchange for his help, and also if he gave results, to get rewards. Material rewards. And essentially all he really asked for was junk to test what the world outside the facility was like, what he could actually get. And that was how he found out, yeah, they're all old models of things, so nothing is being produced. So the bit where he shared with them is like, oh yeah, all these things that, go up to this year and stuff. He knew about that for like years before.
Yeah.
Norman asks him about the tracking devices and if he actually does know how to break them. And Ray says that he actually has seen the device and has figured out a way to break it after working for many years on it. And he swears that he can definitely nullify the tracking devices. And so he has a bit of an arrogant, evil mastermind moment where he says, see, the person you see before you right now is the strongest card you'll ever have. I can hurt Mom from the inside. I have the means to nullify the tracking devices. I might not know everything, but I have more information necessary for the escape than you can imagine. The strongest card. Exodia! No, just
Obliterate!
Ever since I found the truth about the house, I've been preparing, without having anyone, whether it was Mom or even you guys, notice. I tricked Connie, who didn't know better, took Little Bunny, and made you 2 go to the gate, just like you said. All of this to make sure the both of you didn't get killed. And he lays all of his cards out on the table, because he says, look, I am essential to your escape plan, but if you want my help, there is one condition. If I give you this information, if I leak lies to Mom and help you the way that you want, you've got to trick Emma. You've got to pretend that we're taking everyone, and at the last moment we're ditching them. If we're going to take anyone else, we should only take Dawn and Gilda. Everyone else needs to be left behind. And Norm points out, well, you said during the train to help everyone grow that people were moving along even better than you would have expected. So what's up with that? And Ray says, it doesn't change the fact that they're a burden. You said that you're like, this is the way that I'm helping. Otherwise, you and Emma can die here at the farm. And yeah, it's Norman, of course, lies to him because he does not want to give up his promise to help out Emma. And so he's just like, okay, I'll just lie while accepting his conditions. But Ray says, hey, if what you just promised me is a lie, then, and he just kind of puts his hand on Norman's shoulder while walking past him, and he looks pretty much just as evil and conniving and sinister as Mom and Crone have in the past, which essentially is setting Ray up as he's basically this midway point between them. He's sort of midway now between a protagonist and an antagonist, which is really, really interesting, I think. I mean, and Norman is left to think about all of this stuff as Ray leaves him behind. He knows, how great Ray can help them, but he doesn't want to trick Emma. He knows he can trick Emma, but it's going to be really hard to trick Ray because Ray is logical and Emma is reckless. So the smart thing to do would be to go along with Ray, but I want to be like her. So if I can save them, I want to. Ray has a meeting with Mom at this point, and he just says, "Man, nothing's really going on with the targets. You should really keep an eye on your assistant because she keeps on moving without, your permission. You really should not have summoned her. I know you did it to deter me, and it's fine if you're worried, but it also makes me sad. You still don't trust me, even though I've been helping you for 6 years." But Mom points out, we won't be in this situation if you had done your job that day. It's true we could not have predicted that Norman had the ability, but I never thought you'd be a useless dog who couldn't even keep watch. So, yeah. Ray, we get an internal monologue from him to kind of set straight on where he stands in all of this. Because everyone in this series fucking lies to each other. And it's hard to glean the truth from that. But there's no real reason why anyone would lie to themselves while they're thinking to themselves.
Yeah.
So he basically...
It's a meta-level fucking trick of now.
Right. If it's some Fight Club shit. He narrates while thinking about this stuff, I decided that day how to use my remaining time. I was about to be 6 years old. At most, I had 6 years to live. There's a limit to how many lives I can save. That is the reality of this world. I don't care what you guys want. I won't let Norman or Emma choose the path that leads to their deaths. I won't let them ruin the plan I spent 6 years building. So, over the course of the past 14 weeks, The Promised Neverland has turned out to be pretty much the single most well-paced manga going in Jump in a walk. And before we even realized it, we had 5 different characters who all have different goals and motivations, who in one form or another are all working against each other. We thought it was going to be the kids versus the adults, but it turns out that within those groups, people are trying to trick and manipulate each other in order to get what they specifically want. We've got Emma, who is the idealist. We've got Norman, who is the midway point, who's trying to choose between the two of them. We've got Ray, who is the most black and white, logical, this is the way things are, and this is the only way that we can save anyone's lives, is to abandon those that we can't save. And then we've got Mom, who we don't really know exactly what's going on with her. And then we've got Crone, who is motivated by the idea of promotions and power. This series is just so damn good. And it's crazy that there's really not any action in it. It's just intrigue and mystery and thriller. And I know that it was a bit of a shock to get this revelation. Not really a bit of a shock, but it threw a real wrench in the works to learn that Ray was the traitor. But honestly, he is probably my favorite character in this series now, after all this. I know that you said that he was like your favorite before, But learning all this about him and this side of him that's like, I'm going to save them even if they don't want me to do it the way that I will, is great. Like, I've actually played one or two characters in like RPGs that think that way, with that very pragmatic approach of, I don't care if they like me after I've done all this, because all that's important is actually protecting them. So it's really good. Yeah, and I fucking love Red.
he essentially has added a completely new dynamic into the series now, where there's almost an evil presence within their group of protagonists now, and that's something new that they put in there. He's now challenged more than just being the lancer to the idea. He's actually posed a legitimate, how do you get around this obstacle between Emma's idea of saving everybody and the actual possibility of escaping. It's interesting. It continues to leave you guessing. You're never gonna feel, it seems like at this point where you're never gonna feel comfortable. The series keeps shaking itself up. It hasn't rested on the laurels of just an interesting premise. It continues to build upon it and really just keep the readers on our toes. So I really enjoyed this chapter. I think this is some great stuff going on, and I'm looking forward to more.
And Ray's words to Emma of, you can't trust anyone. Literally, none of them can trust each other. Not a single character in this series can trust any other character with anything. That's what's been the big thing, revelation in these last couple of chapters, is literally everyone is trying to trick everyone else.
It's kind of neat because, we have the three main characters, and you have Emma, who's this moralistic, doesn't seem to have much compromise in her goal, just good-natured, very emotional character. And then you have on the other side Ray, as you said, very pragmatic, willing to do insidious stuff. And then you have in the middle Norman, who we've already known is a little bit sinister. He does have an edge to him, but he's trying to be more like Emma. But we know that he has the potential to do and be exactly like Ray. So it's this weird assortment of types there, with Norman in the middle, who could be kind of pulled in any direction depending on how things go. And that's really interesting to see.
The position that Ray has put him in order to pursue his goal of being more like Emma, he has to be more like Ray, because he essentially has to out-trick and outsmart him and out-connive him in order to then go towards the more idealistic goal.
It's awesome stuff.
Yeah. Let's move on to One Piece. Long jump, lots of stuff to scroll through. Okay.
Chapter
845, Forces of Rage. And how do you begin a chapter called Forces of Rage? You do it with Nami relaxing in a bikini.
And a bunch of cats that are kind of tired and hot.
Last time, Sanji beat up Luffy in order to send he and Nami away in order to protect them, which of course he couldn't, say out loud. Luffy is still lying in the middle of the valley where he was sent. Nami tells him, we should really actually leave because we're in the middle of enemy territory. And Luffy says, no, I'm waiting. Well, yeah, but, you beat a general. And Pound said that if you do that, then Mom will send all of her vengeful forces and storms and stuff after us. So the enemies are going to come. Sanji will come. I'm waiting here. He's just lying on the ground there.
It's
even as clouds gather. And King Baum, the giant tree that they were riding around on, explains that, yes, that mountain is Whole Cake Chateau where Mama resides. She is in a tremendous rage.
Fucking hate you, god damn it.
Time and place for everything, buddy. Yeah, so Charlotte Lin is using her power to unleash fire and thunderclouds and stuff in order to reap vengeance. As also the Army of Vengeance for Master Cracker comes together. Many people are starting to march, including Baba the Disposer and Amande the Mademoiselle. That's a great pun, actually. The Mademoiselle, not Mademoiselle, Mademoiselle. That's clever. And Mondor, the secretary. Can you imagine the total bounty of that crowd? And so Sanji is and company are kind of passing by them, going the other way. And so he thinks, yeah, he was going to be staying right there, even if someone, even as the other members of his family are like, I bet the captain isn't stupid enough to stick around when he sees that army. And we get a wordless exclamation from Sanji in response to that. You can just tell he's just thinking, but he is that stupid.
Oh God, he's exactly that dumb.
The rain clouds start to unleash syrup onto the ground, and Luffy specifically turns over onto his stomach because he refuses to let the syrup into his mouth because he will only eat Sanji's cooking. He's stubborn, if nothing else.
It's like, all right, Luffy, come on, you'll get over him. You'll get a little emo there, Luffy.
Oh no, there's sugar powder floating through the air. I'm gonna hold my breathe any of it in because it's not Sanji's cooking.
No one can ever hold my hand again. Sanji used to hold my hand. No one else can hold it until we get back together.
Sanji held your hand? I mean, he might.
He could. There was a sandwich in it.
Oh boy. We cut to inside of Big Mom's throne room for a bit. She is. Let's see. Who is this girl? Does she even have a name?
No, I don't think they name her, but it's just basically one of Big Mom's youngest daughters.
Someone points out, like, if you give her that knife, Anana, that's what her name is. If you give the little girl Anana a knife, she's gonna try and pop our balloons. That's right. She's wicked, I tell you. I'll kill her one day. They shouldn't use those wicked words, should they? That's not Big Mom talking. Sorry. Yeah, it's someone else protesting that Anana. They're going to kill Anana, and someone's like, "Are you going to let them talk like that?" And Big Mom just says, "Everyone's got 100 or 200 people they want to kill. Let's find a way to get along."
She just lets it go. She's like, whatever. Good luck, kids. Who doesn't want to kill their family?
Go ahead and try and kill each other. Just do it in a way that you all get along.
Just make sure you're at the dinner table when it's time to eat.
And she says that it's Big Sister Pudding's wedding tomorrow, so it's time to go meet the groom's family. And she sits around a table with the German 66. She says that she's heard rumors that Sanji is a perfect match for Pudding, although he could be anything for all I care. It's a political marriage. Anyway. Judge says, "Indeed, there is nothing better than our children being happy."
I do love his way of nonchalantly ignoring that sentiment and just still playing it as politically as he can. Yes, it's all about the happiness of our children. Oh, fuck our children. They're all shitheads. Yes, they are our future. Can I have more bread?
Oh, God. Sanji's a little bit freaked out by the living teacups that come up to him. Tea.
To be fair,
eat us all. I'm sweet, eat us.
That is pretty terrifying.
I love his nonchalant reaction to all the food dancing around his plate, though. Pancakes, we're pancakes and cabbage and sauce. Just eat us. Hey, can you keep it down? Don't be such a buzzkill.
Oh. But then you have to see fucking the one dude eating one, and it's like a pancake, and it's like, am I good? Oh.
Am I delicious? Pudding passes a note to Sanji in class. Do you like me? Yes. No.
And then Sanji looks down the table, and he sees Millhouse, and Millhouse is doing the wave thing. That's like the best Simpsons. And then you just immediately see Milhouse like with an ambulance, like.
Milhouse's eyebrows, man. Oh god. Everything's coming out Milhouse. We cut over to Luffy again. Nami is begging for Luffy to hide. Even Tree Guy is like, "Are you seriously just gonna stand in the same spot?" "Yeah, because if I leave, Sasha might show up while I'm gone. You guys can go if you want to. I'm gonna stay here. There's no way you could beat that enormous army." "Well, I said I wait here. I promised." And we then cut back to the chateau in Pudding's room, where Pudding has called Sanji in for a private meeting. And she apologized to him because she wasn't able to keep her word to Luffy, and now they're in danger all because of me. So Sanji is thinking to himself, "Oh, yeah, I was wondering how they actually managed to get here." So Pudding says that she'll take the blame if Sanji leaves. If you don't appear at the ceremony, then that'll be it. But Mom is used to these arranged marriages, and she puts special races on those wedding partners who seem like to try to escape. And once they're on, if you try to leave the island, oh yeah, they'll blow up. I know. Yeah, I've got them on. And Sanji says, "So your mom has the key to these. So if I were to get those, yeah, you'd have to defeat the entire Big Mom crew." And Sanji says that, yeah, she's already covered all of her bases. I don't have anyone here to help me. And not even my family will help me, even though we're related. That doesn't mean a thing to them. You see, they'll never forgive me for being a failure in their eyes. And he peels off the face mask that Reiju had prepared for him to reveal all the bruises and swelling on his face. And Sanji says, yeah, this is why I left my family searching the sea. But if I resist this marriage, my friends and I will get wiped out. It'll even cost the life of my savior in the East Blue, the man who might as well be my real father. There's no way out of this in any direction, so I've decided not to resist anymore. And in return, I want Big Mom to let my people go. They're going after our crew at this very moment. So Pudding starts to cry because she feels so terrible over everything that her mother is doing to Sanji and the people he cares about. But Sanji says, "I was in hell until 13 years ago. I've just come back to where I started, that's all. If anything, it was bliss just being away from that hell for 13 whole years. In a way, all the people I met are my saviors. I just want to vanish without hurting any of them. My adventure ends here." And Pudding continues to cry, and Sanji is like, "No, don't cry. You're just going to make me feel worse." And she says, "I promise, Sanji, I won't let our marriage be hell to you too." And she kind of realized what she said because it sounds a little bit presumptuous. And she says, "Yeah, any marriage you don't want, yeah, of course it's going to be hell. I'm so sorry." We actually get a cut over to Luffy fighting the approaching army. And he's already really beaten up, of course, from what Sanji did to him. But he's refusing to move, and he's fighting off all the armies they approach him. And Pudding continues to apologize while this is going on, saying, "Of course I can't possibly fill the hole left in your heart. And besides, you never once even said that you were actually going to marry me." And with a crack of lightning from Big Mom's storm, the room lights up as Sanji suddenly hugs Pudding and says, "You are my salvation. If I'm at all worthy of you, let's get married tomorrow." I ship them. I mean, it's really sweet. These two people who are in this situation that they don't want to be in, but they get along with each other, so they're trying to make at least something of it. And you really get the impression from reading this and seeing some of the stuff that Pudding's other children have done, some of the less assholey ones, that this has probably happened a fair number of times where there've been all these arranged marriages and none of them really want them to happen, but they might as well make the best of it because they're two people who aren't really evil, and they're like, well, we've got to live together. Well, we might as well try and be happy.
The final panel can be taken in one of two ways. It's a very romantic kind of panel with the light coming in from the background and all the gorgeous kind of accoutrements of the Big Mom mansion. It's a romantic scene that you don't normally get in One Piece, which kind of fits with the whole arranged marriage and the way things went. However, I can't help but notice there's a lot of heavy shadow used, and I can't help.
It's a very ominous panel as well. Yeah,
I can't help but shake that Pudding might have not tipped her hand, but that Pudding is making a play, and that she's not as good as she's making herself out to be.
Chris, you don't trust anyone now.
I don't trust anybody now. I think this
Promised Neverland has ruined your ability to believe in the purity of One Piece characters. What's happened?
You know what, Nick? I really don't know if Osambu's being legit about him not being skilled. I think he's just trying to use Tamakoma 2 so he can take over the World Trigger himself. No, but
I was thinking that Sanji was trying to gotten that plan and was trying to make a play. So
I legitimately, because here's the thing, there's only a couple of Big Mom's daughters who are good, and we do know that there are some, but all of those seem to have left. Pudding's the only one that we've known who's still with Big Mom. So it's in my mind, I always had a little bit of an oddity there, but then it's just like, I don't know. She knows how bad things are with Sanji, and she knows how desperate things are, but she's immediately like, well, let's just be happy together and get married tomorrow. And, that was always the plan, but it just seems like she's trying to cement it. Like, she maybe has her goal given to her by Big Mom. She's like, make sure Sanji gets married. And maybe that's...
Don't make him fuck this up for me!
Yeah, like, that's maybe her only thing, is she's just like, let's do it. Like, she's like, no matter what, I'm going to get him to marry me. And if I have to emotionally manipulate him and talk about how tragic this is, but it's okay because I'll be your light in the darkness. There's part of me that's just saying here, like, something's off about her.
I don't know. Like, I mean, either that's a recent thing, or for some reason she deliberately arranged for the Straw Hats to show up in front of him. Like, that's a very Xanatos move there. Like, yes, I'll drive him into a corner.
Well, I think it was more so because who was the character who said that they saw Sanji and then led them into the seducing woods? Because why didn't she warn them about the seducing woods? I mean, the thought was they'd all get stuck in those woods and that Brûlé or someone else would take care, would keep them distracted until the wedding took place.
So you're suggesting that maybe she tried to actually lead them into the worst possible position for them so that they definitely wouldn't actually be able to meet up with Sanji.
Or that was part of Big Mom's... or that was part of Big Mom's plan, like the crew's plan in general. And then after they got out and met up with Sanji, she found out, she's like, I'll have to take matters into my own hand then.
I just want to point out, I mean, I'm not going to say you're wrong, because she is related to the big villain of this arc. And it's certainly a possibility, especially when you consider the amount of effort that has been gone into making sure that Sanji goes through with this marriage by threatening his loved ones, by threatening his foster father, by threatening to take away his cooking, removing any sense that he can possibly escape this situation. It's possible. I am, however, going to point out that if you are wrong about this, this is going to be your id equals superego moment.
You know what? I feel like, I mean, maybe I used up all my predicting power with Honey Mustard, and I should just stop making predictions.
Oh, God. All right.
My hero.
Mia? Yeah. It's a little weird going backwards.
It's like an adventure in time.
Which did have a big twist in this chapter. It's My Hero Academia number 114. I don't see a chapter title anywhere. Oh, wait, yeah. Results Aftermath. There it is. With a really, really cool panel of Toga and Tamura is in this very shadowy room. The results of the hero license exam are being announced, and we get reaction shots from pretty much everybody in Class 1A. We get Mineta and Jiro and and Shoji and fucking Sero and Uraraka and Tokoyami and Ojiro, Kaminari.
I think it's essentially everybody except
I'm challenging myself to name everything.
Oh, okay.
Sugar Rush Sky. Fuck. Koda, Ashido, Yairozu, Asui. That one wasn't Kaminari. That one was Aoyama. There's Kaminari. Hagakure, Kirishima, and Bakugo didn't pass, and neither did Todoroki. So everyone except Todoroki for fighting with Yoarashi, and Bakugo for presumably being Bakugo has passed. Because, we get 17 reaction shots when we are Deku had passed in the previous chapter, but Bakugo and Todoroki did not pass. So we get, we get to see Todoroki's reaction to his name being absent from the list of people who passed. He's just got a very blank look on his face. And pretty much as if he already knew that he hadn't done it, that he had fucked things over. And Yoarashi approaches him and kind of glowers down at Todoroki for a little bit before suddenly bowing down very, very, very harshly to the point where he bangs his head on the ground like the way he did when he first greeted them all before the exam. And he says, "This is my fault that you didn't pass. My pettiness is to blame. I'm sorry." And Todoroki says, "No, I started it back then. There's no need for all this. You approached me openly and honestly and helped me realize some things." And he thinks to himself, this is a part of my journey as his son. It's just another obstacle to overcome if I want to become a hero. So he approaches the thing very, very maturely. And it's just kind of one of those moments of, I do have a lot of maturing and growing up to do. Everyone's kind of reacting in shock that basically their top two students didn't pass, and Kaminari is kind of bugging Bakugo about it, saying, "Yeah, you gotta clean up that potty mouth if your words matter." And Bakugo's like, "You shut up, you don't want to die." Hang on a sec. Gonna have to get more after this.
Nectar of the gods.
Mineta says, "You both failed because you two are big time. Your own defining qualities work against you here. The old hierarchy's falling to pieces. I ain't through it yet, Vince." And Ida kind of breaks his neck.
I like it. He's got still has the same expression on his face, but he's just twisted his neck entirely around.
I can't hear you all of a sudden.
Oh no.
There you go. Yeah, he's just kind of like turns around, like, "Yeah, just shut up." Moves him away. Deku and Yaoyorozu are kind of like, "Oh, Todoroki." And Todoroki does finally actually start to look a little sad. We get, God, I'm glad we don't have to put up with this guy much more because I still haven't learned his name. The guy who's conducting the whole exam says that they're going to hand out score sheets and everyone starts getting them. And everyone's looking over their stuff, and essentially they're saying, yeah, there's a threshold of 50 points out of 100, and you can see how many points you lost for each given action. So some of them being like, "Oh wow, yes, I only had 61. Oh, I got 84. That's pretty great." And Yaoyorozu got 94 because she coordinated the rescue effort and knew how the fuck to take on everything. Ida says he got 80, and Sero got 84. So his method of helping by, "I'll tape this stuff together," apparently was really helpful.
That was apparently a big deal. He really came in through the clutch on that one.
Yeah. Ida says that they say I didn't make good practical use of my talents, and Deku got 71 points. It wasn't because of something I did, but my behavior before taking action. I lost points for hesitating and stuff. But Deku is thinking to himself, this is kind of weird. There's no way to gain points back after you've lost 50 points. There's no hope for recovery once you stumble. So why did they let people who fell below that threshold keep on with the test instead of removing them from the arena? And we quickly get an explanation for that, as the conductor says, every action you take as a hero comes with their heavy responsibility to society. The great hero All Might is out of commission, and his active presence serves as an important deterrent to crime. Without that factor holding them back, we can be sure that more brazen villains out there will start showing their faces. The balance has shifted. With that in mind, the next generation, you are the central pillar of society. And as heroes, you will set a standard. You must become the new bulwark, keeping crime at bay. Beware the licenses you now receive are provisional ones. The road ahead is still a long one, so study hard at your respective academic institutions. For those who didn't make the cut, do not be disheartened. You don't have time for that because there's still a chance. If you sign up for and complete a special 3-month training course and pass the individual test at the end, you too will be awarded your provisional licenses. I know that you just committed that horrible traffic violation, but if you take this class and pay $30, you won't get any points taken off your license.
It does seem a little bit weird that there was all this big deal about doing this big contest. They're like, yeah, but you could just do summer school and get it too.
Well, this was specifically, I guess, for only the ones who made the top 100, though.
Yeah, but even then, it's still like, it's not like it's like a one thing you take. Like, most of the people here, I guess, are like second years, I guess they say. Usually not freshmen. Still, freshmen don't take it, but...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just sort of weird to be like, oh, but you could just do this thing to get it too. I was like, oh, okay. I guess I'll just do that and get it.
He basically clarifies, yeah, all 100 of you we deemed to be capable of qualifying. You have the potential worth cultivating. So even if some of you aren't ready yet, that doesn't mean all your hope is lost. You know, we're going to keep moving you down this road. You just need a little bit extra training in order to be prepared for this. So everyone's like, oh yeah, you know, this is great news for you, Todoroki. But Mina is like, oh, you should just don't work hard. Take the easy route, Todoroki. The hierarchy.
You're like, I'm so glad Stone Cold voices in every series.
And Todoroki kind of gives everyone a little smile. And he's like, yeah, I'll catch up soon, guys. Deku's got his new provisional hero license with such a stereotypical driver's license picture. Because nobody is photogenic when they're 16 years old. And he's like crying up, tearing up because he's got his hero license and he's so happy. And he's like taking pictures of it. He's like, I'm gonna send this to Mom and All Might. Not my dad though, fuck him. He's never around for me. All Might's my new dad. Joke approaches Eraser and suggests that they bring their classes together for a bit of joint training. And Eraser agrees. So now it all comes full circle. The Shiketsu students are going to be part of the supporting cast, it seems, from now on. And Yorashi gives everyone a big greeting to Class 1A, and he says, Todoroki, I'll see you at the training course, but I still don't really like you. Just apologizing for that, sorry. Bye.
See you next week. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Deku then approaches the hairy Shiketsu student and starts getting ready to take notice. He's like, hey, can you tell me about the training that helps presence? And he's like, what are you talking about? What training are you saying? And Deku mentions that Kamiya says that that's how she did it. It seemed that was how she could cloak her presence. And she seemed also like she wanted to talk more. Do you know where I can find her? And the Shiketsu student says she actually already left and went to the train station. She says she wasn't feeling well. Now that I think about it, she's been acting really weird these past 3 days. Different than normal. As we cut to Kamiya on her own, heading down an alley. as her slime that transforms her appearance emerges while she's beginning talking on the phone with someone. And when it finishes, she's revealed to really be Toga! Talking on the phone with Shigaraki. And Toga gives an update on what she's been up to, saying that she's gotten her hands on some of Izuku's blood, as we're introduced to her quirk, Transform. By ingesting a person's blood, she can transform into them. And of course, recall, one person she transformed into during the test was Uraraka, whose blood she got during that big conflict before. So this was a really big game changer. Not a game changer, but a very sudden but sensible reveal about this. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, this does make a lot of sense. And it's also kind of interesting. So obviously there was a real Kami. And it's like, one, where is she? But two, what was her quirk? Because it seems like, I'm trying to remember how all the sequence of events, but I know for a portion of it, she essentially fought Deku one-on-one. They were alone. And she used her powers. I'm trying to think, like, did she ever do it in front of other people? Like, did she just, I took the place of somebody else who had a shape-shifting quirk? Or is it like, did they, I'm just kind of curious how they handled all that.
The only time I think that we actually saw her take action was specifically when she was fighting with Deku, and then when Uraraka and Sarah showed up, and of course none of them were familiar with her quirk. But people ask questions like, so did she shoot? Yes!
I mean, yeah, it makes She's
crazy, guys!
It makes a lot of sense now, too, because I think I even mentioned at the time, like, between her and Toga, this series is just getting filled with crazy chicks, and obviously it makes a lot more sense when they're one and the same person, so.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's, we don't know what the hell the real Kamiya, what her deal was, because we had only been introduced to her during the test. And I'm sure that there are more hints that if, you've been paying attention, I'm sure that there's someone out there who called this twist, because it was something that, it was definitely something that did catch me off guard, but then immediately all clicked together when I saw it. It was a well put together twist, one that, can catch you by surprise, but also wasn't horribly unfair, and you could guess from the clues that were given to you. But I think that this honestly made this whole thing better, because honestly, like, the test wasn't all that great.
No.
We had, like I said last week, we had moments for little characters that was nice that they got a chance to shine, but the whole thing wasn't all that impressive. And honestly, the reveal of, you guys could just take the supplementary exam, this feels a little bit cop-out-ish. Again, it makes sense for what they're trying to do in universe, but it does make the stakes seem even lower than they were before. So the fact that we had this element going on in the background, building to something, that Toga can transform, and now she can transform into Deku, or maybe they can use his blood for something even more nefarious somehow. I'm not sure how they would do it, but they can. The fact that the villains are still on the move, even while the heroes are taking this break from all of that stuff, it was nice to see.
No, I definitely, I think it was a good twist to kind of get me back into the story, so I'm appreciative for that.
According to Lost Thief in the chat, Toga Himiko, her full name is a pun take on a Japanese phrase for becoming other, so that was why they were expecting it. Fair enough.
So yeah,
okay.
You needed to go grab some water, I believe.
Yeah,
so
I'll be right back.
Will,
so start on Food Wars?
I'm just going to vamp for a moment here. While we get ready for Food Wars, guys, I just wanted to note something. We recently did some updates on our Patreon, and I just wanted to give you guys some heads up on some new goals that are out there right now, if you guys were interested. We actually put 3 new goals out there. The first goal is if we get to a certain number, then we are actually going to add some more series into the weekly manga recap. We occasionally do series as they come into Jump, but we're specifically going to be adding at least 2 more series, maybe 3. And the series would be anything that's officially produced, and the series we pick would be basically picked by our audience, or not necessarily picked, but it would be, the audience would be able to have a very big say in what series it is. So people would be able to suggest those series, we'd be able to put a vote out for it, and we basically gauge what the series people would most be interested in adding to the recap would be. So if you're curious about that, that's on there. The goal after that would be making Trollo T Trivia a regular thing. We'd be doing it on a semi-regular basis with new Trollo T episodes, and they'd be available for everybody. There would also be ways for you as an audience member to participate within the show and even win prizes off it. So that's another one that's on there. And the last one is making a new theme month for every year, similar to how we did Air Gear this year. We would make every year. September would be a month where we review a series that one of us has particularly strong angry feelings towards already. So Prince of Tennis, Flavor of Recca, Code Breakers, series that one of us already just hates the shit out of, basically.
That it will take us a little while to get through.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly which one we do next, but I do think that if we left it up to you guys, I think I know what it would be.
So, yeah, if you guys are interested, go check those out. They're up on the Patreon right now, and just know that it's always appreciated, guys. So,
yeah,
thanks. All right, let's do Food Wars.
Shoki Akino-sama, Chapter 190, For the Sake of Another. The very nice little image at the start there of Soma traversing the mountains on his journey for ingredients and stuff. Actually, it makes it look like he's in America, honestly.
I know, right?
That canyon. Soe, everyone is waiting on Soe's declaration of who the winner will be because the twins are split between Hayama and Soma's dishes following up on their shokugeki. And Hayama is kind of reeling at this point because he's thinking to himself, my southern fried bear should have been absolute perfection. How could you match me, Yukihira? And Soma is smirking at him as he is wont to do. And Akira thinks, I've always hated that smug smirk of yours. But today you pushed your luck too far. I can't afford to lose this. I'm going to win no matter what. And we get a flashback to a conversation he was having with Zami right after he won the Battle Royal in order to earn the right to a championship match at WrestleMania in the main event. Sorry. I started up on the Austin impression, and now I'm thinking about wrestling.
Is that all it takes, Nick?
It really does. So Azami congratulated him on joining Central, and Hayama was just like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, make good on your promise. Where's our research? Anyway, now for your first task. During the upcoming advancement exams, get rid of Soma Yukihira. Wait, what? What are you talking about? You said that you would let us get our research going on. Oh yes, but joining Central means you must pledge your loyalty to me. If you behave in any way counter to my wishes, well, I'm sure I need to elaborate further what will happen. I'm glad that Azami has shown up a couple of times recently because, I mean, I sort of have forgotten that he is still probably the best villain in Jump going right now. Such an evil douchebag.
His presence has actually been really missed because for a while I've been kind of forgetting that Central had much of an identity. You know, it sort of just became a lot of the goons, and they got...
we'll make them bad!
And they tend to always get beaten as soon as they're introduced, so it's kind of nice to be reminded, like, yeah, there's actually this terrifying dude at the top of the list who's just sinister as shit.
Mm-hmm. I get the feeling that this might be the Resistance's way out. If some of their members fail in this portion of the exam, Azami might prioritize getting rid of Soma so much that maybe he would be able to gamble his academic career in order to get everyone else back at Tatsuki if they get kicked out. Because if Azami is specifically, being like, hey, I'm gonna make this guy be the one to get rid of Soma, then the guy who's been messing with my daughter, putting weird ideas in her head, then maybe he might think that that's a high enough priority that he would risk that. But we'll see. Following up on that meeting between Azami and Hayama, he's talking with June, and June was like, you should quit Central. And why did you even bother to join it? I told you should do that. Why didn't you listen to me? And I was just like, well, how can you continue to research anyway? If you got a better idea, then yeah, what was the suggestion? June was like, well, I don't know. But look, you see, even if you do everything that Azami wants, there's no guarantee he'll ever give us the freedom to do what we want. Which is true. And she eventually just started yelling at him. It's like, God, you're being so dense. Why can't you understand that the last thing I ever wanted for you to do was something this dumb? And Hayama ended up basically pulling a Ray on her. I don't care what you say. I'm going to protect this place no matter what it costs me, even if it's his relationship with June. So you turn to the dark side, man. I know that furry coat's badass, but you're evil now. You gotta face the consequences of that.
Yeah, you get the better powers, but sometimes you have to have really hard fights in exchange. It's pretty rough.
With great power comes great responsibility. We cut to the present where Soe is talking about the dishes, and he says, regarding taste, both participants' dishes are effectively equal. Berta and Sheila's split decision is testament to that. If there's a factor that will tip the scales, it will be the dedication or lack thereof in each dish. And he talks to Soma specifically saying, you did not use ordinary honey in your sauce. Sorry, in your honey mustard. Correct?
Thank God.
And Hayama looks over at the jar of sauce. He's thinking to himself, yeah, he's right. Usually it has a thick, sticky, sweet aroma, but that scent was much fainter in the honey that Yukihira used. In fact, it smelled mildly astringent. What kind of honey is more bitter than sweet? And someone reveals that it is Amur cork tree honey. Long explanation of botany. Sorry, skipped it.
It was yummy. It was yummy food.
It was good. And Soe says he had to work really hard in order to make it work properly because it has a bitter aftertaste, which matches perfectly the flavor of the bear and prevents the sweetness from becoming too cloying. It's astounding how beautifully the two flavors go together. Not only did he discover a potent ingredient in honey, he was diligent enough to think through his weaknesses and search for ways to refine his dish even further. So Kuga's followers then go, yeah, it looks like our work really paid off. All that hiking, hunting, and searching really worked. You could have given us some advice there, Captain. And Kuga's like, hey, I can't give out answers. I can't tell him what to do. That's not going to help you hear it in the long run. Do you think it was easy for me to stand back and let him struggle to try to figure it out himself? Captain, you were just sitting around enjoying tea the whole time. You had to work hard. I fucking love Kuga. You think it was easy for me to sit at home where it was with my chai tea?
It was so hard. You don't know the struggles I've been through.
Oh God. You think it was easy for me to sit back and let Soma try and challenge Hayama for this?
You think it was easy for me to just sit back and talk to two cute girls who are getting slowly more and more naked, all the while I wasn't threatened in any way, shape, or form by the outcome of this contest? It was stressful, man.
Oh God. I mean, come on! If I had helped someone with this dish, all their clothes would have come off. Right, their boobs would have been right in my face. Can you imagine the horror that I would have witnessed?
That's a lot to deal with. It's like, which one do you go with? They're twins, so obviously they're gonna want to fight too. So
Oh yeah. I mean, then they'd be wrestling, and then they'd be like, "Oh, this feels incomplete. We should have like some sort of liquid on us." And then I'd have to have been like, "Soma, give me some of that honey," so that they could have it on their. What was I talking about again?
And then I wouldn't be able to stop eating the honey mustard, so nobody would be having sex. It's a mess. Didn't want to.
As soon as he got out, I'd be like, "Oh no! Now this honey mud wrestling competition is canceled because it's too delicious."
That's been all of my issues with the honey mud wrestling league.
Anyway, yeah, what were we talking about? I like boobs.
So, yeah.
No, that wasn't it. Damn it. Oh, God, I lost my train of thought. See what you did to me, guys? Shut up. What I'm saying is, I work hard for this, okay? Kuga still tries to play it off by saying, let's just say it was a long winding road before that honey. I knew he'd get there. He got me with the same trick, you know. When Yukihiro Chin can find an answer that satisfies him, he just won't quit. He continues on until he finds what he's looking for. And we get a flashback to Soma scouring the snowy forest with Kuga's followers, looking for various different ingredients. Yeah, also cutting back to Kuga over the phone, be like, don't go too deep into the mountains. Make sure you come back before the weather's too bad. And also he specifically said, yeah, as long as you follow those two rules, you can work those guys to the bone. I don't mind. And yeah, someone enthusiastically directing everyone, okay, let's check over there before we head back down. I have to give myself as many options as possible. And then he's off to the kitchen to try every last one. And we continue the montage of him trying out all these different ingredients that he had, dishes piling up as he tried and experimented hundreds of times before finally finding the right one. Hidden in the roots of his dish were boundless curiosity and unflagging determination. In its reflection, I saw the face of its chef. And Hayama protests to this by saying there is no way he threw together something as complete as my dish. Dojima speaks up and says, you say that you put your greatest effort into discovering the ultimate form your dish could take. Of course, there's no way I could put together a more perfectly balanced ratio of spices by yourself. Did you even spare a thought for the person you're ultimately making this dish for? Let me get a flashback to Hayama's younger days when he was actually shorter. He was so short.
Yeah,
and his shorts were even shorter.
It's like a youngster Joey kind of shorts right there.
Yeah, really. My rat is the top percent of Ratata.
I like shorts because they're comfy and easy to wear.
My dish is in the top percent of dishes.
How could you have beaten it?
Oh, I like shorts. But, you know, it was a bit of, you know, Jaime being like, hey, can you take a look at the dish that I made, June? And June saying, yeah, this is great. How did you even know to try all these different things? It's so good. And Jaime being like, oh, you know, it was easy. I'm going to be the best chef in Satsuki. But then cutting forward to the preparation for this competition, where he was thinking to himself, yeah, okay, this is great. Wait, what if I went with a slightly coarser grind on some of the spices? It could be worth trying. And then he tried to call over for June. Of course, June wasn't there because he had abandoned her to save her. And Dojima says, I don't need to taste it to know. Akira Hayama, there is a decided gap in the passion and devotion you pour into this dish compared to your dish for the classic. Can you look at this dish and say you tried every single possibility to make it better? Can you say from the bottom of your heart that you truly gave it your all? Or is it missing that greatest of desires, to have someone taste it and tell you it's good? And Hayama goes, well, what does Yukihiro have a nice tongue? And Soma grabs Hayama by the collar and be like, you jerk, I made this dish for you. I put everything into this dish so you would try it. All my effort was so I could finally hear you say that my cooking is good, no, better than yours. And not just today, it's what I've been working towards ever since the classic. And that's why it ticks me off that you keep dissing me by allowing yourself to get distracted. And he pours, or doesn't pour, but he prepares one more dish for Hayama and tells him to dig in. This was a great chapter. And I think it really pulled home the stuff. I mean, it just kind of all fits, you know? It all comes together. You know, the chapters building up Soma's pursuit of different ingredients, as well as the backstory that we already knew about with why Hayama joined Central. I'm a little bit disappointed that it seems like we're tearing Hayama down right when we've had his heel turn. It's like, oh yeah, it's time for that big push now that he's changed allegiances. No, he loses. He's actually worse off than he was before. But it was really cool to see the way that it was presented of how this change has really affected Hayama. Yes, he's going to greater lengths than ever, so he thinks, but it's actually hurt the thing that was most essential to him.
Yeah, and I like how it really goes to show that not only is it that he was coasting a bit on his laurels, but how it's the loss of June that really affected his cooking. How his talent and his drive to get better is all fueled because of his feelings towards another person. And that's kind of important. It's cool to see that as like a motivation. It's not just a series where everyone's like, I want to be the best cook because that's pretty cool. They want to be the best cooks because a lot of them have people that they really care about and they're kind of doing it for them. And those are like the motivations they have to get better. So I liked seeing this from Hayama. It was a good satisfying kind of end of the match. And yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
It builds on this theme that we've gotten going on of, you know, togetherness, that very shonen theme of nakama and I fight for my friends and such. But the way that it was presented in terms of, you know, you didn't have that support that you've had this whole time, and you underestimated the importance of that support and the importance of that friend who you say you're doing all this for, but you really ended up pushing them away. That, in both the symbolic, moral form of it, but also that added perspective can really be helpful. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, liked it.
Alright, let's move on to Fairy Tail, chapter 509, Kagura versus Lacarde. And
Kagura doesn't look very happy to be the pinup on this cover.
I think what happened, it's an interesting decision. I believe this cover page was taken when Kagura was getting dressed, and she tripped and fell over herself down a flight of stairs. So her shirt's coming up. She hasn't gotten pants on.
So she's kind of like going,
legs overhead.
And then someone's like, opportunity. I've got underboob and panty shot right here, ready to go. And Kagura's just like, I will kill you as soon as I get up.
It's just like, okay. So last time we met Lacarde again and found out what his power was, this ability to basically put pleasure into people, and that was his way of essentially defeating them. You'd give them so much pleasure that they would just like become incapacitated.
Deathgasm.
Yeah, essentially a deathgasm. So we open this chapter with August, who we already kind of knew was beating up Crime Sorcerer, whatever the fuck their stupid group is. This shows that he's actually outright done it, because Gerard is the only one who seems to even be conscious at this point. And even then, he's still on the ground. So August, like, kicks him in the face and is like, I hear you were once a follower of His Majesty. Why have you chosen to fight against my Emperor? And Gerard says the cheesiest fucking lines. He's like, I found my light, a light in my heart, where before there was only darkness. And he sees Urza in his mind's eye. And I'm like, fucking God, it's the lamest fucking story.
I'm sorry. The first time I read this, I really did just kind of like, whatever, he's getting his ass kicked. God, did you just come straight out of Kingdom Hearts?
It is. It's really like just that schmaltzy. But August responds with, he's like, you believe dark is evil and light is good? You are naive. The Emperor has a son, a child born with tremendous power over light. And yet, that boy has never known love. He is lost in a mental wasteland, wandering the border between darkness and light. Darkness. Light and darkness.
We've had a year and a half to potentially build this guy up, but, this is the first time he's doing anything, so now I've got to give his whole backstory right.
It's gotta come all now, and not really much to really attach. The whole light isn't necessarily good with the whole I give you pleasure until you deathgasm thing, but it's subtly there. Anyway, light and darkness are not inherently good or evil. If there is one true good in this world, it is perhaps love. And that's when I want to be like off on the side again, like, still gay! Like just a queefy sentiment of like, but maybe the only true good in this world is love. It's like, okay, I get it. And Gerard is just like, stand up! You must protect Urza! And we cut away to, as we mentioned, or as we all remember last week, Kagura showed up to stop Lacard.
And she's totes gonna succeed, guys.
Yeah, she's got her sword and everything. He's fucked. I mean, granted, I don't know if she's really beaten all that many people in the series. She was kind of on Urza's level until Urza just got better than her, but
I have more armor.
She's a big deal, guys. If nothing else, Kagura is going to be an important character. Not Rebecca. So the card explains how he is Lacard Dragnel. And because there are people here who haven't been there during other important scenes, to Yukino, Lecter, and Frosh, this is kind of a big deal, because they're all like, Dragnel, isn't that Natsu's name? And he's like, yes, I'm Natsu's nephew, basically. I am Zeref's son. Natsu is his younger brother. And everyone's like, oh, that's so crazy. And he's like, oh, yes, well, I'm looking to fight him in battle, because after all, father seems to consider him more important than myself. And what son can forgive that, I ask? So he throws a bunch of blades of light out, like just swings it with his hand. And Kagura basically, like, chops a mountain at him. Like, she dodges the attack and then cuts through a mountain, I guess, to launch it at him.
It's really strange. No. What happens is he's perched on the mountain, so
okay.
She chops it down.
Yeah, she chops it down to, I guess, get at him, and then the tendrils of pleasure magic start coming up and wrap around her while he's landing. And she immediately is starting to succumb to it. She's just like, ah! And Yukino's like, don't succumb to it, whatever you do. So Kagura bites her tongue. And you can tell because it's bleeding out of her mouth immediately. And I guess that pain is enough to counteract the pleasure.
So I think that we can, from this, confirm that Kagura is not a masochist. Definitively.
Which
like,
is...
There aren't too many manga that will go out of their way to demonstrate. Yeah, usually, if this topic is addressed, it is to demonstrate the opposite.
Yeah, so if Urza encounters this guy, she's fucked because she loves all that BDSM shit. I'm sure. She seems to be into everything else kinky at this point. Wasn't she the one that's like Lucy, dress up like a cow and walk home naked or some shit like that during that Christmas chapter?
God, what a weird fucking bonus chapter that was.
So.
When she does have a special seduction armor, so.
Yeah. So, Kagura has countered the pleasure magic, gets in close to Lacarda using her speed, and Yukino even notes, like, she's at this proximity, she's unbeatable here. And she strikes at him, screams out, justice! And Lacarda just blocked it with her fingers, didn't even care. And he's like, oh, perhaps you've been under a mistaken impression about the Spriggan 12 based on the fact that the rest of us sucked ass.
The real Spriggan 12.
Basically, the Spriggan 12 is like the Spriggan 3 with 9 others. Because August, Irene, and myself are legit toughies. The other guys, whatever. They blew, I guess. And she tries to attack again. And August, I guess, just like, I'm not exactly sure what happens. I guess he just like slaps her body, like slices his hands through it so fast it cuts her, or maybe uses one of the light blades he summons. You just don't see it. But he basically takes out Kagura. And he's like, never fear, that pain will turn into pleasure. Moments ago you characterized my magic as lacking in decency. And in a way, I do believe you're correct. However, I feel that is just an expression of love, to grant you a death free of pain. Your white soul shall fly free to the heavens. And then he starts immediately putting his pleasure magic back in on Yukino, and says, I shall show you heaven as you die. Cut back to August, and he's like, the Emperor's son, the only one who could defeat him would likely be his own mother. And that's when we cut back to Mavis still on the ground panting in mid-deathgasm.
Okay, so I'm confused. So from the last chapter, it, like I said, it seemed to very heavily imply that virgins were not affected by his magic, in terms of the way that it was like, those who have experienced pleasure are the only ones who can affect it. So a prude like Kagura being unaffected by it makes sense. The little kitty kind of characters like Yukino, it makes sense. Kana, don't really buy it. I'm sorry that that's very presumptuous of me to say, but she always did seem more mature than, say, Lucy did. She's old enough to drink, you know?
Yeah.
And she was old enough to drink years ago.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there were jokes before about her getting too drunk and starting to strip. Like, it's not like it was a character
right
averse to that.
That said, when we had the flashback to explain Mavis and Zeref's backstory, Mavis and Zeref kissed, and that expression of love killed Mavis, or put her into a super coma, or whatever you want to call it. I thought that was, like, it. Like, from there she went into her ghost crystal whatever form. Not, she recovered, they had a relationship, and had sex, and she had a child. That's a big period of activity you gotta go for. I'm sure that they're... Because you can't just say, like, oh, it's like a magical child, magic from Mavis and his own the son out of it, because she's affected by the super pleasure magic. This is, you know, more things that are pointing towards Zeref and Mavis have had sex, which I'm not saying is like it's creepy that a loli had sex or whatever. And if that's not it, I'm just saying is like this seems to directly contradict the events as we're told in that flashback.
See, I don't even know, because Kaguya was starting to get affected by the pleasure magic. But she bit her tongue and like hurt herself to get her out of it.
Well, there's the two different things. There's the thing where it's just like everyone in a wide area feels
right.
this, and then there's my pleasure tentacles. Yeah. That's different. as if in Fairy Tale you could attack someone with tentacles that weren't pleasure tentacles. Like, honestly,
I don't know. It's a weird. I had to assume it's something like it is like a magic baby or something like that, because I understand. I know that there are cases of 12-year-olds having kids, but that's no matter how old you fucking argue she is or isn't. The fact of the matter, she is still permanently basically stuck within her 12-year-old body. So you have to then kind of address the awkwardness that a 12-year-old body had to give birth, which is just a weird sentiment for Fairy Tail to bring up in this moment. So I could understand if he's like, oh, well, I took some magic from Mavis and combined it with my magic, and that created this child, and thus that's why you're the mother. You didn't actually carry any baby, something like that.
Emperor Dayan in the chat brings up a disturbing point that I think that I subconsciously blocked off so I didn't have to think about it. Lucarde is technically causing his mother to experience sexual pleasure at this point.
Oh, that's disturbing.
Like, that's a notch that I was not expecting Fairy Tail to actually hit.
Oh, sorry. I'm mistaken. Mavis was 13. So
oh, it makes all the difference.
13-year-old body, yeah. I don't know. I'll give it this. Lucarde, when he's not doing his bullshit pleasure magic nonsense, is cooler than I was worried he was going to end up being. Like, I mean...
I know that Zeref has created people like, because he created Natsu in a way that is weird and stuff. I understand that. I understand that there is a way that Lacarde could be Mavis and Zareth's child without them having gone through the whole motion of, man, I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that.
Nick with the subtlety.
But it's the combination of it is their child with this magic only works on people who have experienced true pleasure. Those together very heavily imply they had sex, which again, I'm not bringing this up to go on the whole, it's creepy that someone as young looking as Mavis had sex. Look, I'm past that. I don't care. I'm just saying it looked like she died. Those two things, if what happened, those two things imply happened, then when did it happen?
Nick, I feel like you are putting far more thought in this than
know.
Hiro did. Hiro did not think this through when he gave this dude a power like this. He's like, oh, it'll be so sexy. All the chicks will be holding themselves and ooh.
Josh V raises a point that I'll go with. Maybe Immortals reproduced like seahorses and Zareth got pregnant. I'll take that. They kissed the one time. Zareth is like, oh, maybe it's my love. Well, I'm carrying our child now. Oh, God.
Give myself a C-section because all the doctors who are going to come by are going to die in my death aura presence. This is going to be an unpleasant 9 months.
Oh, God. Let's finish up with Black Clover.
I honestly rush through Black Clover, honestly.
God, there's very little that happens in Black Clover because it's such a very straightforward action chapter. It's page 85, The Raging Bull's Charge. Look at Asta's muscles! Jesus Christ, his arms are fucking huge. Everyone kind of beats up Asta because he's like, yeah, let's go fight already. When they're like, do you have any idea how worried we were about you, how beaten up you were? And they start beating him up and they're hurting their hands on his giant arms now. It's ridiculously cartoonish. The Queen of the Land of Witches is like, use your powers to help me. Okay. The three novel characters are like, good job, Asta. Yeah, thanks, guys. Asta, we have much to talk about, but we are going to go fight the diamonds. We have a bone to pick with the mage warrior Mars. And I'm like, do you? Do you really?
This fucking novel is becoming more and more relevant apparently every week.
Next bonus episode of Weekly Manga Recap. Weekly Manga Recap reviews Black Clover, the novel, so we can get over with all this. Guys, you really need to read Unmasked.
At least Kira didn't keep showing up talking about all the important things that happened in there and the dangling plot threads left unresolved from Unmasked.
At least no one amongst whenever they fought in Espada was like, so what's your backstory? I'm not telling you. Who is that person? Someone from the past.
Someone I need to deal with. Why?
It's a long story. A long and very interesting one.
It's
that you can read about for only $4.99.
It's a long story. Probably worth, USB rating, $11.99, translate it over to yen. You gotta pay for it is what I'm saying. I'm getting at.
It's a microtransaction,
Yeah, it's some good DLC. It's a man I haven't met since I last paid $7 to JapanNovels.com.
The witches are having trouble with the invading forces. Asta helps out. He beats a guy with a weird face. Salamander Girl launches a fireball. He knocks it back at her like a baseball bat. She is barely phased. The explosion knocks Asta backwards. He has to be caught by Vanessa and Finral. That's it.
I hope like more chapters just have things at the bottom like the event comics in like Marvel and stuff where it's
see this comic book that you don't normally read for the one crossover issue. Read that one issue and be unfamiliar with any of the characters in it. But if you want to have the whole story, you better read it.
Just constantly.
Our industry is dying. Give us money.
Like once or like 2 to 3 times per chapter. It's just like, to understand who this character is, read the Black Clover novel. It's just like, God damn it! Every week!
Or even more ridiculous, like, if you want to know who these characters are, well, you can read Disastrous Life of Psyche. And if you be sure to check out the crossover chapter in issue.
To know more about this character who showed up, make sure to check out the box of this cereal in Japan. I'm like, collect all 7 to get the whole story. I'm like, fuck, I gotta buy cereal from Japan. Learn to speak Japanese.
If you want to know the whole story, you can be sure to go to McDonald's and get a Happy Meal. You can collect 1 page. Be sure to click all 18 pages so you can read the whole story.
Oh, God.
Fuck! I got another page 5!
I get it. That dude's super hot and takes his clothes off, but I need to know who that character is.
Uh,
Oh, all right.
That's it. That's it. I'm done. We're done with the recap. Push the weekly manga recap.
Let's do our MVPs and let's get the F out of here.
Thank you guys for tuning in today. We record the show generally Wednesdays. We gotta do our recap, our favorites. Yeah. Yeah. When we get through this, since I already started, okay, and then we'll do that. We tend to record the show Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on hitbox.tv/RWBY. Sometimes we do start a little bit late, start a little bit early, or have, technical difficulties with one side or whatever. Be sure to follow us on Twitter so you can stay updated. You can follow the official Twitter account at WMR Podcast, as well as your 2 hosts at RWBY and at YRWBY. You can check out our past episodes either on Podbean, weeklymangarecap.podbean.com, on iTunes, where you can comment and leave a rating to help us out, beat the woodworkers. And you can, of course, subscribe to us on YouTube as well. If you want to help out the show,
actually, real
subscribe,
quick,
comment, like, all that good stuff.
I want to give a special thanks to 2 people. I don't know if I got this one before, so I'm going to mention this from Lizzie Lump, who says, by golly, this podcast is swell on iTunes. And we also got a new one here from I Only Understand, who says, these guys are not only good for their reviews, but are hilarious. I have a 6-pack from all the laughter. On a serious note, though, both Chris and Nick do an amazing job for the manga community, and I highly recommend them.
That's really, really high praise. Thank you very much. Yeah, if you guys want to help us out, just share the podcast, leave a comment, leave a rating, all that stuff. If you want to do a little bit more, you can also become a Patreon subscriber. Patreon.com/weeklymangarecap. Your support allows us to create all sorts of bonus content for you guys to enjoy. We do Q&A episodes. We do commentary over anime and anime-based movies and such. And you can also get our super special, ultra deluxe, premium, extra nice, super cool bonus episodes, which vary month to month. We do a new silly topic every single time. This month is going to be a very special weekly manga recap lives one.
Special thanks, by the way, to Philip Walpole and Ryan McLaughlin, who are our newest patrons. Thank you very much, guys. Fist bump for helping out. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you guys for any support you're able to give, whether it's through Patreon, whether it's through subscribing on iTunes and leaving a 5-star review, subscribing on YouTube and leaving comments there.
We recently hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you guys very much.
Yes, it is all tremendously appreciated, guys. Everything you do helps us continue to get the show going and build it more and more, so it's really awesome.
Special thanks, of course, also go out to the guys who help us put the podcast together. Steve Mann, our talk artist, does a lot of great work. You can check out his stuff in many different websites. neuroticfanboy.deviantart.com. He's got his own Patreon. He's got a Tumblr account, I Draw Boobs. Check out his work there. You can even see, I believe he puts up all the title cards free on there.
He just put up the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 3 title cards. If you want to check that out.
We'll preview there.
Before it comes out. Yeah, go do it.
And of course, Infamous Planet, helps us do
by the
various
way,
things.
I need to note this. Not safe for work.
No.
Do not follow Steve Van if you intend to use your Twitter at work. I had that almost happen in a disastrous moment today when I was like looking at Twitter and it was immediately like, oh, scroll down. Oh God. But he's awesome.
What are you looking at, Chris? And of course, special thanks also go to Infamous Planet, who helps us do a number of miscellaneous things. Honestly, they're really too numerous and weirdly sporadic to bother mentioning all in a row. But he does also do the frame that you see here.
He literally, before this episode, me and Nick were having technical issues with Discord, and I asked him to give me some help to test to see if it was an issue on my end. So
yeah, thanks, Gaiman. With that said, let's name our favorites for this week. Favorite series and MVPs, favorite characters. I'll go first. I honestly was going to go for Promised Neverland first, but rereading Food Wars, I changed my opinion. We had a lot of really good chapters this week, honestly. A lot of ones that were satisfying in different ways. Other than Fairy Tale, which was stupid as usual, and Black Clover, which I was just kind of meh on, there was something positive to note in every single chapter. This was a good week, and I'm looking forward to the pace picking back up. And, we were in a little bit of a rut last week, and I think we're getting out of that. We're going to have a lot more positive things to say about all of our regular series in the near future. But Food Wars in particular, it was the big go-home moment, and I think that it really paid off. I really liked what it did for Hayama and for just this match that he and Soma had. It had a lot of really good notes in it, so I'm going with Food Wars this week.
I'm going with Food Wars as well. This is a really satisfying kind of... It's not the full conclusion, because technically Hayama has to eat it, but it's basically done. I mean, Dojima himself said, I don't even need to taste the food to know that Soma's dish was superior. So it's basically just him eating it and having basically the realization of what he's been doing. So there's that. And it's just a satisfying way to kind of have everything come to an end in that fight. And it was just really well executed.
I'm going to make my character Ray in Promise. Last week I gave it to Norman. This week I'm giving it to Ray. Like I said, I think that he is definitely solidified as my favorite character right now because I like how he's established as this unique midway between protagonist and antagonist, and also what that dynamic does for the series that we've got all these different manipulating people. Oh yes.
I don't know why I noticed something on my mic, and I was like, that's rather penis-shaped. See, I told you guys it'd be fellatio jokes in this episode. I'm also going to be giving mine to Ray as well. Just a really awesome chapter with him. It's really kind of reinvented the character, and I still really care for him.
And One Piece won our viewer poll this time. Definitely not a bad chapter of One Piece. Like I said, a bunch of good chapters this week.
Yeah, it was a lot of votes across the board, too. So yeah, guys, that's going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap this week. And I don't know, Nick, do you think we'll be doing JoJo's next week?
I'll let you know in a couple of days, depending on how much progress I'm making.
Gotcha.
But I definitely won't wait until Tuesday night before I tell you.
It's Wednesday at 6:43. You're like, hey Chris, you ready to talk about JoJo's,
right?
I'm like, there's a couple things I wanted to catch back up on. Well, poo. And it just exposes me as a huge fraud. You're like, so my favorite character was Jotaro. What about you, Chris? I liked the Punch Man guy, Jotaro. No, is that right? Is there some kind of lizard man in that part?
This is a romantic comedy, right?
Yeah. When does the harem start? Hold on, wait. Did I read an entirely different thing and just think it was Jotaro? All right, bye guys.
See you, everyone.